All right, Mr. Lehman, we have about 51 attendees. Looks like we're pretty consistent there now.
All right, thank you. All right, I want to welcome everybody to our special meeting tonight. I'm going to talk a little bit about the process we've went over the last couple months. I guess actually we started this probably almost a year ago with Mr. Clemens. We hired a contract with Mr. Clemens to assist us in the search for our new superintendent. Second, we did a statewide advertising campaign. We received 17 applications. After that, we narrowed it down to 8 applications and did first interviews. Followed by, we brought 4 of those 8 back for second round interviews. Dr. Fox's credentials, experience placed him as our primary candidate, agreed on unanimously by all board members. Today, Dr. Fox spent the day meeting with teachers, touring all the school. He met with students this afternoon. He met with the administrative teams and some people from the district office that'll be working with on a daily basis. Following tonight, you may provide feedback through our district website for anything that you saw tonight. And finally, I'm going to introduce Mr. Fox. And instead of me telling you his story, I'll let him tell his story.
All right, well, we'll try that again. Thank you very much. And to everybody here this evening, thank you. And to all of our viewers at home, thank you very much for taking some time this evening to get to know me a little bit and to ask some questions to me also. And it was a great experience today to learn more about the district and to spend some time with groups of teachers, to tour the buildings, to spend some great time with our administrators, and most excitedly, I had a great time to meet with some of our students. So, you know, as was said, my name is John Fox. I'm the proud assistant superintendent currently at Bermudian Springs School District in Adams County. Prior to that, I was the principal for 5 years, proudly at Dauphin County Technical School. And before that, I spent some time as the assistant principal, one of the assistant principals as a team at the Central Dauphin School District, Central Dauphin High School. And prior to that, was a teacher at East Pennsboro School District. And also spent some time, 2 years, as coordinator of residence life at Penn State Greater Allegheny, which at the time was Penn State McKeesport. Currently, some of my experiences, I grew up in Powder County, Pennsylvania. I grew up in Shingle House, was the town. I graduated from Oswego Valley High School. And from there, I went to Clarion University, followed that up with my master's degree from Duquesne University and my doctoral studies from North Central University. So I'm certainly excited, and this is certainly a new experience, and it's been a very positive experience. It's a great and welcoming district with really great students, excellent curriculum offerings, great facilities, and I'm really looking forward to the questions this evening.
Thank you. My name is Mike Clemens, and I've been working with the board as we conducted the search for the new superintendent. I want to again reinforce Mr. Lehman's point. Following tonight's questioning, if you go to the district website, you'll be able to click on a link and provide feedback to the board. So I would encourage all of you to take advantage of that. We have a number of questions that have come in already. And again, those of you at home, if you want to submit a question, you can go to the website and do that also. So the first question really revolves around the topic of COVID and what's going on. In your current position, it says the students did not return to face-to-face in a large capacity until February of 2021. If you look back retrospectively, would you have changed anything? And what are some of the struggles and hurdles that your district had with dealing with the COVID situation? And as you talk about that, would you also talk about your thoughts on the best method for students in education, whether they be online only, face-to-face, or a hybrid of the two?
Sure, yeah, thank you. First, I'll start out with saying that, COVID has really stretched all of us. And, I think our teachers currently are doing an exceptional job. They do a tremendous amount of the heavy lifting when it comes to preparing lessons in a multitude of different environments. Uh, Currently, right now, when kind of looking at things retrospectively, I think certainly our team has done an outstanding job, and I say team because it really our principals are just outstanding. They do a tremendous amount of the contact tracing. They do currently just a tremendous amount of the conversations with teachers. They just have done an outstanding amount of work. Um, but to answer that one question pertaining to the best model, I don't necessarily know if there is a number one model instructionally that's best. And I think that's why we see the ability kind of moving forward that some students do learn best online. And it gives them that option and opportunity to be able to do that. I think, again, a lot of students learn best face to face, and having those discussions and having some of that interaction and that hands-on learning, that's important within the classroom. And I do believe that we can walk away with some experiences that we take from this and look at how can we kind of utilize a flipped classroom model and a hybrid model, in different perspectives for some of our students as well, and kind of front load some of the material. So when we go into class, we're able to do some of those discussions. So I think there's some really positive takeaways that we can take on there. And some of the discussions today, was really about what can we kind of move forward with, and really, as a teacher, one of the things that was always difficult for me as a teacher was being flexible and exercising flexibility. I used to joke when I first started teaching and I heard the fire alarm, it was, oh, there's my lesson, it's done. I can't believe I can't finish this. Well, if anything, it's taught us to be, extreme, exercise extreme amounts of flexibility. And I think that's going to really benefit us moving forward.
Thank you. The next question is, the American Academy of Pediatrics strongly supports the efforts of school districts to optimize sleep in students, urges high schools and middle schools to aim for start times that allow students the opportunity to achieve optimal levels of sleep. What would you do as superintendent to ensure that teenagers have the opportunity for adequate sleep and the associated benefits?
Yeah, I did. I am a little familiar with that study as well. Some school districts, I believe, have exercised or started some of that conversation about kind of reversing the start of elementary school versus the start of middle school and the start of high school. And it looks at that, and some of that research says don't start, I think, before the time of 8:30. But we also have to take a look at some of our high school and middle school students are the caregivers for some of our elementary school students to get them off the bus until parents arrive back from their job. So that has to be taken into consideration. Athletics, which is an integral part of the overall curriculum and academic portion of our curricular offerings, has to be taken into consideration as well. As is some of the employment that students have. So to answer the question in terms of what are some of the things we can do, I think it's putting some parameters also on the amount of homework that we give and making sure that our assignments are purposeful and meaningful, and kind of limiting that as well, and maximizing the amount of time that we have in class, and just being mindful of the amount of assignments that we give, because we know sometimes giving and providing homework doesn't necessarily equate to something being more challenging and rigorous.
In your role as superintendent at Susquehanna, how do you see yourself interacting with the students, teachers, and the parents of students?
Yeah, I think a lot. I see myself, the ability to attend events. I see myself being as visible as possible, being able to visit classrooms and seeing students and student learning. And I think that will certainly on some of the longer days also help rekindle that why, that passion. And why are we here? Well, we're here for the students, and being able to get re-energized during the day. I think inviting parents, I think of ourselves, and some of the work to be done in terms of comprehensive planning. I think that's important as well, to invite parents in and have them as part of the stakeholder groups, and just continually collect feedback from parents and being able to communicate with them also. So I see myself working together in a collaboration with all groups on our goals that we will establish and set forth.
If you were superintendent, are you willing to mandate the posting of the district's curriculum online so that it can be viewed publicly for transparency?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I think currently some of the curriculum is posted online currently. I know some of the larger unit plans are. I believe our curriculum is deeply rooted, all curriculum is deeply rooted throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania through the Pennsylvania Department of Education SAS website. And a lot of that is rooted in PDE SAS, and a lot of that information is currently available as well as links there as well. But a lot of when we talk curriculum and our course offerings are established within course guides and the offerings that our students have access to. So when we talk curriculum, yeah, we can provide some outlines to what the students and some of the outlines related to the academic standards and content being taught. But really, when it comes down to the unit plans and lesson plans, that is the power of the teacher. And I do not believe having that posted online for everybody to be able to see is necessarily needed, because again, a teacher will change that on a regular basis. And oftentimes, even between classes, they'll make those adaptations and changes based upon the needs of the students. So that really wouldn't be realistic to be able to post all of that information.
Thank you. What are your thoughts on how to reduce money going to cyber charter schools?
So if you're a parent out there currently and you have your student in a cyber charter, please contact us, because we believe we have a great product when it comes to be able to provide some education online for students. First and foremost, please kind of give us another shot if you're already there. Our teachers are first class. The community is first class. The offerings that we have and the ability to participate in activities, the ability to participate and obtain and earn a Susquehanna school district diploma, high school diploma is really important. And so I think there's a lot of ability there. So I think just kind of welcoming and welcoming back, having a conversation and beginning, what is it that you would need? What is it that we can offer? And what is it that we can do to work together?
Thank you. In what ways do you anticipate working with the Capital Area Intermediate Unit to benefit students, teachers, and administration?
Yeah, the CAIU, in my experience, is working at Central Dauphin and again at Dauphin County Technical School. The CAIU has been a great resource for not only just the professional learning for myself, but that network and being able to have that network. The CAIU does a great job of providing information from the state and providing that information back to us in a condensed and usable way. The CAIU has a lot of different benefits for us as well, and kind of exploring what those options are and seeing if that's the best fit for us as a district, and how we can continue to partner together.
Do you have any thoughts on possible removal of mask mandates for the 21-22 school year?
At this time, I cannot foreshadow what current conditions may look like. Here's what I can say. I believe that all of us have a responsibility right now. If all of us do and continue to do what we need to do, especially throughout the summer, I believe we'll be in a much better situation, not only as a school community, but as a state and as a nation, if we continue to do those things, as difficult as they are. But I believe that, again, we're all certainly in this together. I know it's been a long haul, but I know we can continue to move forward together and collectively. So no, I can't kind of predict what the fall will look like in terms of a mask mandate.
Okay. Thank you. When you are looking at current trend reports, what is considered most important to base your decisions on for the school district? What is happening in your local population or in the county, state, or national statistics?
Well, I'm not sure. When we're speaking of trend reports, I'm assuming we're speaking of current data associated with perhaps the COVID-19, or are we speaking in terms of so let's go ahead with data concerning instruction. when I look at instruction and I look at data and current trends with data, I think it's good to kind of take it from a state perspective first, and we'll take a look at what are the state averages. We'll take a look at district percentages, and then we'll kind of drill down and take a look at cohorts, and we'll take a look at students in those grade level cohorts, and then we'll drill down again, because a student is much more than a data point. A student has a personality. A student has a multitude of different elements that they're associated with. A student is more than just a test, a test score. So it's looking at who those kids are, and our teachers know who those students are best than anybody. And data shouldn't just be looked at in isolation. So inviting them in to participate in kind of a data review and taking a look at who those students are, what they need, and how we're going to be able to provide those interventions for students. In terms of trends, I think we can really continue to look at our own selves within our geographic, within our district. Again, taking a look at what is in the school districts within our county, taking a look at the school districts within the CAIU. But again, I think when it comes to comparisons, I think we're our own comparison. Where are we? Where do we want to go? And how do we continue to drive forward? And I think that's the most important comparison we should have.
Thank you. This is a question as a superintendent and becoming the face of the school district along with the principals. And you've talked about this briefly, but give you a chance to kind of reinforce it, if you will. Do you plan to attend any events in which the students will participate that happen outside the normal working hours? And we're talking about, of course, sporting events, musicals, and those kinds of things. And again, how you see those, the importance you see of being part of those.
Yeah, absolutely. Our students have tremendous amount of passions inside the classroom and outside the classroom, and we value those, and we know it's an extension of the learning process. So seeing and being, a part of those, to be able to have and build those positive relationships with students, staff members who are coaching, administrators who are spending time there as well. I think it's a collective effort, and being there for our students and being there for the community is important. So yeah, absolutely. Making sure that I'm specific and pointed, and sometimes trying to make sure that I don't spend all time in just one area, that I can see a multitude of different areas and visit a multitude of different events for our students. And I certainly can't be everywhere at every time and every place, but I will certainly do my best to make sure that there's an equal representation, that I visit, and that I am visible, and certainly always take invitations too as well. So if someone reaches out and says, hey, you should see this, and certainly if it fits, I'd be more than happy to attend.
This question, I guess, would refer if you do become the superintendent, and that is, what action steps do you plan to take for improving instructional leadership in Susquehanna?
Well, it's very difficult for me to sit here after one day of kind of just spending some time in the district, and also spending some time of just looking at the Future Ready Index, which is kind of a lagging data index right now of what I see. I think in order to be able to identify and co-identify, and working with our principals and working with our teachers collectively and collaboratively, I think it's a process. So for me to sit behind the microphone right now and the camera and answer that question, I would be repressed to say I would have that answer right now. I can say wholeheartedly that I've taken a look at the Future Ready Index, and I have seen what I value tremendously is PVAS, which is the Pennsylvania Value Added Assessment, which is growth. And I've seen a tremendous amount of growth measured by that, which is growth over time, which to me is extremely important. And that shows the dedication of our teachers and principals and our aides, all working collaboratively and collectively, as well as the commitment from our parents and community members to be able to move towards that growth. And that's huge. And I see that in the dark green and the light blue, which are the two colors that really stand out. Those are the colors we want to see. So that's extremely important. So I look forward to setting those goals collaboratively and collectively and together.
How do you plan to ensure all students have access to evidence-based instruction across all teachers within all grade levels? And what evidence-based instructional practices are you familiar with?
Well, I think there's a tremendous amount of evidence-based research practices that we could certainly spend some time this evening and go over all of those. And there's been a tremendous amount of research out there, but there are some fundamentals of good instruction. And those fundamentals of good instruction, we could talk about Robert Marzano's work and the nine essential qualities of high impact learning. Those are essential. But I think it comes down to honestly, good instruction also comes down to the relationships, and I heard that today, and I was really happy to hear that today, and refreshed to hear that today, and that's important. It's about building relationships with students, building positive relationships with students, getting to know those students as persons, getting to know them and their talents and their passions, and then allowing the chance to connect that into the curriculum, to allow that curriculum to come to life. And that's what our teachers are excellent at. It's finding out and building those relationships and then unleashing that within the classroom and having that classroom come alive, where learning is not just a spectator sport, but one in which our students are involved in. And we look at that from an aspect of how do we transform it from a project-based learning experience within our classrooms to, of course, utilizing it in Socratic seminars and discussions. So there's a lot of high impact strategies. There's a lot of evidence-based practices that are out there. And it's looking at those, collecting those, and then allowing our teachers to make those instructional decisions and empower them within their classrooms to be able to pick what is it in that instructional practice and strategy that works best for them and the students that they have within the classroom.
Thank you. I would suspect you don't have an answer based on your current position on this, but let me give you a shot at it anyway. What is your 100-day entry plan and what does it entail? And what steps would you take to improve Susquehanna School District? And so perhaps I could ask, what things within the first 100 days might you do to gather information about Susquehanna?
Yeah, that's a great question. The first 100 days, so let's even start. It's already started, right? I continue it as this is a great learning experience for me today, as much hopefully as it is from the individuals and the groups of people and the students I had the pleasure of meeting with. So really, it's not about kind of coming in with this litany of different things that I believe need to change and occur immediately. Now, there are some things that obviously will need to get done. There's some operations and some administrative functions that need to get done. But for me, at the 100 days, it becomes, I need to become and be the chief listening officer, where I'll go around and be able to listen to individuals more, hearing and talking. What are the trends that develop over time? And then coming back and saying, this is what I believe and what I'm hearing, and meeting with groups of people to be able to set that direction collaboratively and collectively. So lots of listening. So hopefully if my, I don't know if my parents are on this call listening or my own family, but if they hear that, I will do the best job I can of listening. But that is something I've tried to practice over time as well, of being a more active listener and being present when individuals are talking, because there's a lot that can be learned by listening.
Where do you stand on applying critical race theory or social justice education to the K through 12 curriculum?
I believe in equity. I believe in equity. Equity is a huge initiative when it comes to the Pennsylvania Department of Education. It's a huge, initiative. I believe that all of our students are learners and all of our students are unique. All of our students should feel welcome and be embraced. And I believe that equity and access are extremely important.
Okay. What would you do to ensure students are receiving instruction from teachers and working face-to-face collaboratively, easy for you to say, with peers, as opposed to spending a lot of time with technology or sitting behind the computer? How do you balance that out?
Yeah, I think a lot of that comes to empower teachers with voice and choice, just like we want to empower our students with voice and choice. So what is it that what works best for you as an individual teacher? There are times when we need to come together to be able to review curriculum, where we need to come together to have some discussions at the department, to come together to have discussions as a faculty, to come together as a whole district also, to be able to hear that united message sometimes one time from myself or from the principals, or collaboratively together in a unified manner. But I think there's a balance. And I think providing that voice and choice for our teachers to be able to decide, at what type of learning kind of works best for you, and be able to do that. So having that option for some teacher differentiation, I think is extremely important also.
Every superintendent has a platform or area of focus. One of the former superintendents was focused on safety, and the current superintendent was focused on one-to-one with iPads. What do you see as an area of focus? And I know you've only been around the district today and so forth, but what do you see as an area of focus that you might use here in Susquehanna?
Well, I don't believe that safety goes away. I think safety is a mindset, and we're all responsible for safety. I don't believe one-to-one goes away. That's still there as well. So I think those are coupled together. But I think an area certainly for me is finding a way that for all of us that, I think for me, one of the passions I have is career pathways, allowing students to find out what they're passionate about or interested in, and being able to know when they walk away at the 12th grade that they're able to have employability skills, that they're being ready to be successful for a 2-year or a 4-year college. And I know that's been the case, but continuing to ensure that that continues as we live in such a global economy that's rapidly changing, providing those continual skills and refreshing those continual skills that we want our students to be able to walk away with. So we'll talk more as it comes closer to how we can work towards that, and continuing to keep that as a main part of our focus.
Thanks. And I think this question just came in, so it was a follow-up to one of your previous answers, and that is, can you explain equity versus equality in education? Do you believe in equal outcome or equal opportunity?
So if I'm understanding correctly, it's the question is equity versus equality and the difference between the two.
Right.
Okay. Equity is not everybody receiving everything the same. Sometimes some students may need something a little different. And that difference is okay. And it's okay for us to provide what they might need based upon what they might need. That's kind of a redundant answer there a little bit, but it is. I liken it to, if I had the chance to show a visual, and I don't have it with me, but it's a picture that always sticks in my mind, and I have it on my computer, and it's a fence. And that fence is the baseball diamond, right? And it's students, kind of everybody having that same box to be able to see over top of the fence. And the equality is, because of your height or your stature, some of those boxes are different, but everybody is still able to get what they need because they can see over the fence. And that to me is important. And that visual representation helps, because it's all about what is it that how can we, and what we can provide for students to be able to grow, feel welcomed, and be able to develop their best sense of their own self. And I think that's extremely important.
I'm not seeing any additional questions at this point coming in from folks out there. I think we've collected them all in here. I don't see anybody asking questions. Is there something you'd like to address that perhaps hasn't been asked yet?
Well, I would just like to say to all those who are listening in, and to all those who asked a question, thank you. I really sincerely appreciate your questions. Some of those I think I was able to answer probably a little bit better than some of the others, but we'll get to those, and we'll work together and collaboratively on those as well. I look forward to meeting. I believe there's 50 some individuals on the call, but I look forward to meeting with all of you in some way, shape, and capacity. So certainly when you see me, if I'm in fact the superintendent and you see me out and about, please introduce yourselves, because I think that's important as well. And tell me a little bit about you, and tell me a little bit about your students, or if you're just a resident, an important resident, tell me about you. And I look forward to meeting all of you, and I really appreciate all that you do. Personally, I'm going to do my best to continue to challenge myself on that course. Absolutely. As long as I don't see any snakes. And then I run the opposite way as fast as I can. No, it's a great course. Great program, and just a beautiful campus here as well. And that certainly adds to the beauty of the campus.
Mr. Clemens, this is Christine via Zoom. We do have somebody with their hand raised, but am I telling them that they need to fill it out via the Google form if they have a question?
Can you do that?
Yep. So yep. So anyone who has any additional questions, we're not taking them live. If you want to ask a question, just go to the district website and there's a link for superintendent search questions that you can fill out via Google form. Thank you.
Christine, could you put the Google form in the chat that people would be able to see it there?
Hey, let me try that here.
Okay. Let me, while we're waiting for that, and there may be some other questions that come in, let me ask Dr. Fox to describe in what he feels is his greatest professional accomplishment at this point.
Yeah, thank you. Several. My greatest professional accomplishment, there's two. I'm gonna say, actually, I believe that my time at Dauphin County Technical School was one of my greatest professional accomplishments. Because again, it's rooted in the relationships that I was able to build, and several staff members, several teachers, administrators I still keep in contact with today. I really learned a lot about teaching and learning. I learned a lot about students and uncovering and really discovering their passions throughout the programs at Dauphin County Technical School. So I think that was one of the greatest accomplishments. And I think at Bermudian Springs School District, I think kind of changing the way we were doing our professional learning, where we designed and carved out time for our teachers and staff to do what's called a personal learning plan. And that personal learning plan was kind of geared and centered around our One to World initiative, our district goals. And it was about really opening up time for teachers to learn from each other and to have time to explore their own passions, and providing that voice and choice opportunity. So many really outstanding kind of benefits came from that PLP that we designed. And we designed it with teachers. We designed it with administrators, and we're looking to kind of rebrand that a little bit next school year, and taking that to a different level as well.
Thank you. We have a question on how would you describe your leadership style?
I think it depends on the situation, describes my leadership style, but ultimately, I like to think of myself as a servant leader. And I think that's one of the most important things. I'm here to serve the community. I'm here to remove any barriers that our teachers may have. I'm here to remove any barriers that our administrators may have. I believe we have great principals, great assistant principals, great administrative team, great teachers, great aides, and first-class students. So my job certainly is to remove any barriers, and that distributive leadership model of allowing them to do what they do best, and then helping and being there to help them really flourish. So servant leadership is kind of the philosophy and model, as well as distributive leadership. But there are times when that sometimes has to transform as well, depending on the situation. But ultimately, that is my overall philosophy.
I do want to mention that there were one or two questions that we received that that we cannot ask from a legal perspective. So if you happen to be asking one of those and we don't ask it this evening, I want to make sure you understand that we were not able to ask those. I have no additional questions. Please, we have one here. Let me, so that everybody hears that, the question was, would you please share your idea or concept of portrait of a graduate?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. The portrait of a graduate is the idea and concept of inviting stakeholders, parents, community members, business leaders, our secondary partners, teachers, administrators to come together to really do a lot of kind of reflection, questions, and aspects of what are the skills and competencies that we want our students to walk away from after graduation. So in post grade 12, what is it? And then what we do is we create a pictorial representation that becomes our portrait of a graduate. That portrait of a graduate not just serves as a pictorial representation, but kind of serves as our direction. It becomes our navigational north of what we believe, and everything kind of stems from that portrait of a graduate. So if you're at home and you have the internet next to you, go ahead and Google portrait of a graduate. Sometimes you'll see what's called a profile of a graduate. I really like the term portrait because I believe each student kind of paints their own picture in a different way, where a profile is, here it is, and this is the profile that you fit. But I think each kid is unique and each student is unique, just like all of us are unique, which kind of adds to the, if this is a respectful term to use, our awesomeness. But I think that's really important. But I think the portrait of a graduate was going to help to kind of connect and become our why, and focus again on that universal kind of universal north as we move forward. So portrait of a graduate, that takes time to build. That certainly takes, but I think there's twofold. The outcome is great because that kind of refocuses us as we continue, and everything kind of stems from that. But number two, there's a lot of power in great conversation stemming from the process. And I've had the pleasure of watching our current superintendent. He's been a tremendous mentor, go through and take us through that process as a district. So I think I can lean on him and use and ask and be able to collect some of that information. And it's really for us currently. It's been a great kind of part of our overall why as we continue to move forward. So portrait of a graduate. I'm excited about that work. I think that work will kind of help steer and begin to everything else to kind of flow from that.
How would you build from the current mindset and making sure that in the district, students are first, we want to build their self-esteem, improve community interactions, and empower students with the courage to do their best? How would you build that kind of attitude here?
I think a lot of that is already there. I think it's just rekindling it. I don't think that's really just gone away. I think it just needs to be reconnected and kind of that fire relit. And I believe it's there. I believe it's there. And I believe we do it. We do it just like I'm doing it tonight. This is a risk, right? You put yourself out there, you ask questions that you haven't seen, you kind of practice and model some risk taking. And I really want our teachers to be able to do that, our administrators to continue to do that, to take some risks within the classroom, and it's okay. And if it doesn't work, that's okay, because it's about learning. Learning is a process, and that's okay. And we reflect on it and we grow from it. And failing is not failure. There's not a finality to it. And that's important as well, right? Michael Jordan, he's missed more shots than he's made. Wayne Gretzky, the same thing. We continue to move forward and we continue to grow. I had the pleasure of meeting with some, like I said today, some outstanding students. They had passion, they have fire, they have zeal, they're ready to go. And I think that becomes that positive when we talk about infectious and contagious. That's the positive infectious and contagious that moves forward and permeates through an organization. That ability and our abilities to kind of come together as a collective group and move forward. And it's okay. Taking those risks, it's okay. Having that, it's okay. And you know, providing those opportunities for all of us to take some risks, and it's okay.
Would you please share your views on the importance of school counselors within the school environment?
School counselors are amazing. School counselors do so much within it. School counselors, you know, provide that transition between integral parts. You know, when we think of 4th grade to 5th grade transition, when we think of 8th grade to 9th grade transition, school counselors are there as well. When students are in a crisis, school counselors do a lot of proactive measures of talking about executive functioning and time management, a lot of trauma associated with current events that are going on, and being able to work and understand, and being able to process through in smaller groups with students, being able to work on college placements, being able to work on college scholarships and working with students on their ultimate goal, helping them establish where is their career pathway, and then providing and talking with them about some of the electives that help to enhance their career pathway and their career choices. So yeah, they're integral. They are a lot of times that conduit that holds together a school and holds together a district. Very valuable.
Thank you. And I'm going to, this next question actually builds on the one that was asked 2 questions back. And it asks about the changing the mindset of a community from accepting average as good enough to build support for students and build a positive reputation for the district. How might you go about that?
Well, first, to do it alone cannot be done. Carrying the banner for the school district, all of our responsibilities. So everybody listening and everybody participating at home, it's all of our responsibilities. To all of our staff and all of our students, all of our teachers, all of our students, administrators, our board, all of our responsibilities to ensure that we have pride in what we do, in what we say, and how we handle ourselves. That's imperative. First and foremost, we should never say, oh, I go here. Not at all. The great things that are occurring, the great outcomes of our students, the great opportunities that our students have, it's first class. It's absolutely first class, and we should be proud of that. And we'll continue to grow off of that and build off of that. And we should never hang our heads low. We should be extremely proud of what we do and how we do it and continue. But all of our collective responsibility, sorry about that, all of our collective responsibility to be able to do that together. It's not just, it will never work if it's just one person. It's all of ours. So yeah, it's all of our job. So everybody, we need to come together as a group.
Thanks. It says that our general and VOTEC students have often taken a back seat to the academic college-bound students. How will your VOTEC background help to foster a culture of esteem for these student populations?
Well, first, they are entering into some high-tech fields, walking away with some certifications and skill sets that are going to make them extremely employable. Entering into a career and technical center at the great programs that Cumberland Perry has, first of all, it's a challenge to even gain acceptance into some of those programs right now. So they should be extremely proud of what they're able to do. Making that choice and decision early on for themselves is really setting themselves up for great success. And if that's a career in an area where they explored, and at the end they say, oh, that's really not for me, that's okay too. Because what you've done now is you've found a way to save yourself a tremendous amount of cost and revenue personally and financially of not entering into that 2-year or 4-year school to focus on that. So sometimes not knowing what we experiencing and finding out that that's not what we want to do early on is just as valuable sometimes as walking away with knowing what we do want to do. So I think it's just like, making sure, having conversations with our career and tech students, seeing what they need, making sure that they have the communications. Because sometimes if a communication goes out later on in the afternoon that they miss out, that they have a way to be able to communicate, or early on, depending upon when they do their half-day program, and then, ensuring that they're a part of it, and a part of the district as well, and recognizing their successes, just like we recognize successes of all students.
Good. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience with social emotional learning?
Yeah, absolutely. Social emotional learning, what we certainly did, our current elementary principal and current middle school principal saw a need a couple of years ago to infuse social emotional learning curriculum within the framework of the school day. So we actually looked at several, they looked at several social emotional curriculum frameworks and selected one from Second Step. And we've been able to take some of those curricular lessons and embed those lessons. Now, to me, certainly when social emotional learning curriculum and lessons work, it stems with some of that larger piece. And I know some of the school-wide positive behavioral support that goes on at the elementary school. So it's taking some of that high five and connecting those into those bona fide lessons and objectives and working together on it. So it's not just one thing you do in isolation or in chunks or in silos, but kind of stemming and connecting all of those so it's done in harmony, and all connected together into the common frameworks that we do. But yeah, social emotional learning connects well. I think it's going to connect well into the overall portrait of a graduate that we'll see. And I think it certainly from an early age and moving forward, I think will be a huge piece.
The next question is fits, I think, with that, and with the COVID situation and situations that occur like bullying and so forth. There have been a lot of discussion about mental health issues with students. What steps might you take, or what do you see happening that can help students with those mental health issues as they arise?
Yeah, trauma. Trauma is a big thing with students, right? And trauma is a big thing with all of us. And it's finding out what is it that is a trigger to their trauma or caused their trauma. And I think it goes back to that imperative, that really good question about view and thoughts on school counselors. Because again, they're able to identify some of those stressors and work with students on some of those stressors. I think, again, when we have school-based outpatient, and providing, and now kind of taking away some of those barriers of transportation and bringing school-based outpatient here as well, and continuing that outreach also. I think when it comes to trauma, we all need one positive adult that we can connect with, and I think it goes back to those relationships and empowering and continuing, because I think it's connecting and finding out what the needs of those students are. But yeah, that's a really good question.
Have another question that just came here, actually a couple as they keep coming in. As an alumni with 3 students in the district in each building, he said he's noticed a bit of a decline in school spirit, enthusiasm, and the general pride of being a Blackhawk. So how do you foster that kind of growth in students, parents, and community in these areas? And maybe you could comment a little bit about your time with the students today and anything they may have said about that.
Yeah, I will share a lot of our conversations with the students. I'm gonna kind of keep those a little bit private, because I didn't share that I was going to share that information out. But I would say that just one thing, in terms of the pride, I think was something that they expressed as well. And I'm going to go back to when we say about the pride of our school district in general. I think it's all of our responsibilities. Again, I will kick that back, where it's not just just one singular person or one singular group. It's not just student council. It's not just National Honor Society. It's not just this group that needs to do these things. It's all of our responsibilities. It's when we say the term Blackhawk, what comes to mind? And it should be pride. And that pride has to occur, internally, and we have to be proud of what we do. And it's our interactions with each other, I think, first and foremost too, as well. I think also rings true when it comes to school pride. So I think keeping that as a basis and the root, I think then school pride kind of bubbles from that, and having that ability to kind of build off of that as well. But yeah, I can certainly see that. I think, down in that the proud, the black and orange, there's been a lot of success, and continuing to build upon that success, I think is important. And it's all of our responsibilities to do that.
This question was about your portrait of a graduate and asking for what skills and knowledges a Susquehanna student should have. And I know that's a future project for you to draw,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
perhaps you could, maybe through your experience at Bermudian, talk a little bit about what kinds of things were included in their portrait of a graduate.
Sure. And each district is going to look a little bit differently, right? And that's the power of the visioning exercises as to what we see and what we hear and what type of surveys and who are we going out and talking to, our local businesses, our local community colleges, our colleges in general, and pulling in individuals to be able to see and what are those common trends. So each one looks a little bit differently. Creativity is one that comes to mind, and problem solving when I think of the current portrait of a graduate that we were a part of. Being able to be a self-directed individual, I think is important as well. All of those are really, it came down to 6 kind of pillars or 6 aspects. And those are the 2 that really stand out to me right now. But I know that it's a process created, and it's not just one where you just kind of randomly pick what is the representation you see on Google, but really what does it get to the heart of what we believe, what we see, what are we hearing, what is it going to, what are we going to continue to not just outrun and outlive, but what are these 21st century skills that we keep coming up and needing? And I think that's the important aspect of it.
Okay, very good. Thank you. I think we just have a question, just a second. The question really revolves around decisions being made about how you're going to deal with if there is a COVID outbreak, and where the responsibility for that lies, where you get your information. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. We certainly will get our information from, of course, the building nurses, building administration, concerning the amount of contacts that has occurred, the positive, where that occurred from, the conversations with the parents, contacting and being able to have discussions with the Department of Health. All those are important aspects of it. Looking at the information provided again by the Department of Health that comes out on a regular basis, whether our county and local level is in substantial, moderate, or low. That kind of helps the decision-making matrix. And then having conversations about where and what is the Department of Health's recommendation, and then from there, what the timing of it will also play implications. Meaning, what day of the week is it? Where does all that fall? So there's a lot of different elements that fall under that question.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
There are no additional questions at this point. Is there? Oh, there's one from the.
So while we're waiting on the questions, I certainly would just like to take that opportunity to once again, I think the questions have been great. And I really do appreciate everybody providing those. And I look forward to kind of expounding upon some of those answers as we kind of move forward.
I have this question, and then there are a few more on online. As we prepare our students to enter a global economy, what are views on the importance of providing quality, robust foreign language program in the district? In the district, yes.
Yeah, I think foreign language is when we look at Spanish being one of the most popular languages spoken in the world, I think is instrumental. But it goes further than just sometimes a foreign language, right? It's about culture and about understanding culture and respecting culture, having a deep knowledge of the differences of culture. Because, I think it again comes down to a lot of knowledge when we're not just in a vacuum when it comes to our economy. We're global, and we've seen that now more and more. And a lot of individuals, upon graduation, and upon graduation from college, or even entering, and taking that great calling of entering our U.S. Armed Forces. Certainly will experiencing different cultures. So having a cultural awareness it really ties well into the studying of our foreign languages, in particular, kind of branching out and looking at, Spanish in general.
How might you go about uniting people in the district, including school board, including, staff and so forth? How do you build that unison?
Over time, teams, when I look at teams in general, and being a former coach, I guess once a coach, always a coach. Teams are built on trust, and trust is earned. Trust is not just given. Number two, it's built on communication. How do we communicate with each other, and understanding each other? And third, it's having a common goal. What is our common goal? For us, our common goal is to be able to serve and meet the needs of our students. Very global, very wide, very broad, but yet that's ultimately what we are here for. That's who we serve. So I think those three things are the elements of being able to forge and continue. And it's like anything else; it's a relationship. It's a process, and one that continues to build upon those tenets. And having some fun. At the end, we also need to have some fun. This is a serious process right now. I understand, and it should be. And all of you at home, I completely understand. But we need to smile a little bit more. We need to have some fun every now and then too. And I think, we've been at it for so long since March. It's okay to have a little levity. It's okay to have a good laugh every now and then, because that's important too. And we really do need that. Because, our board has made some incredible decisions, and they've done so as volunteers. And I want everybody to understand that. I mean, they put so much time and effort into it. Our teachers have been just planning and planning and planning and planning and making adjustments. Our administrators have been at it since March, finding and working and figuring out plans and adjusting those plans. We've all been at it. Parents, you've been at it too. Motivating your student, finding a way to communicate with your student, working with your student, handling all and responding to all of the surveys, and being flexible. But we've all been at it, and sometimes it's okay. Let's just smile. And you know what? We're going to get through this. We're all going to get through this. We're going to come out on the other side, and we're going to take those lessons learned. We're going to move forward, and we're going to be better because of it. But it's okay to laugh a little and smile a little. It's good for us all. It really is.
You have a good joke to tell us or something?
I really don't. I really don't. I really don't. That's exactly where we left it. I might have a couple of what I would call dad jokes, but they're probably not funny. So I don't want to do that yet to anybody. So yeah, but thank you.
There's a series of questions here about accountability. And they really relate to rules and regulations, students being held accountable, and parents being held accountable for what it is that goes on, perhaps rather than disproportionately pushing that back on the school. Can you have some comments around that particular topic?
So I'm not I have to apologize. I'm not sure if I understand the question directly.
Okay. I tried to combine a couple of them
Okay.
here. For example, if a student's not following rules, regulations, policies, or procedures, will the student be disciplined without regard to a parent's or guardian's position? Will the student be held accountable for grades, i.e., not passing them on to another grade when they don't really receive a passing grade? Those kinds of things that are accountability related.
Sure, sure. Well, first, I believe there's a why behind everything, and each student is different. And we have, first of all, a student code of conduct. There's a set of rules and general principles. So to speak in very broad terms, it depends. It depends on the offense. Again, if there's a series of tardies, if there's a series of absences, I think, we work together, and that's where that partner with our school counselor comes into play. Our partner with the assistant principal, our partner with the principal, our partner with some teachers. What is it that, again, why? And what is the barrier to that student's ability to learn and to get into school, or that ability for the student, if they're online, to log in? What is causing that? And again, working and partnering with that parent. I think accountability comes, but we have to understand the why. If a student violated one of the tenets of the student code of conduct, then there's rules, and that's part of holding an individual accountable. Is passing or moving a student on to the next grade level? I think it's our responsibility, to ensure that number one, that student's ready, but number two, we have to look at the whole picture, the whole student. Is that student ready? What would that do to that student growth-wise? Not moving that student forward. And if it's, at the high school, when you begin to earn credits, well, what can we do credit recovery wise to ensure that they are ready to go by graduation? What are some of our credit recovery programs that we can do to be able to work with that student to earn back some of those credits that they missed, to make sure they're on pace for graduation? Because it's all of our jobs to do so. It's not just everybody working in silos. It's certainly a team effort.
Thanks. Here's a question. I know the answer to this one. So it says, have you had experience with building construction at any of your past or current positions? I passed it on the way today. So,
Well, we've had some construction at Dauphin County Technical School in terms of remodeling, and sometimes your smallest remodels can be some of the most trickiest when it comes to spaces as well. And taking an early childhood childcare program and transitioning that program into a dental hygienist program, and that really took some time. And when we began to trench the floor and some of the detail work that went into that. Currently, right now, Bermudian Springs School District is building a new middle school, and it's really in the construction phases of it. I had the pleasure early on of doing some visioning exercises, but right now, for me personally, I'm not involved in a lot of the construction and planning and ongoing meetings with the architect. Certainly, our building principal and our business administrator, our business director, as well as our superintendent, have handled a lot of those meetings. But I get to see that process that occurs. We see and get a chance to hear the change orders and the amount of time that goes into that planning and that processes that go into play. But really, it comes down to what is the vision of learning? What is our vision of learning, and how can we kind of redo a space or recreate a space, even on the littlest to the largest grand and really, what do we want it to be? How does it connect into the future of teaching and learning, and allowing that space to connect into that vision of teaching and learning?
okay, thank you. I don't have any additional questions at this point that are listed. I'm going to just wait about 60 seconds here. If anybody that is tuned in out there that wants to ask an additional question, I'll look at the online, and as that occurs, we'll give you one more chance to comment on anything that you'd like to do so.
For me, once again, I would just like to thank the board for this opportunity. Thank the community for joining, taking the time out of a Monday. I would like to thank the students today for taking time out of their day to come meet with me at the end of their day on a Monday as well. the staff for taking, and teachers, taking the time to come and meet, and having, really, it was a great pleasure to be able to walk through each of the buildings and to be able to meet with people. It's been an absolute great day. I really appreciate the thoughtful questions, and I really look forward to, and I truly do mean that, to partner. And I think that's a key word. It's a partnership, and I look forward to partnering with all of our stakeholders, our students, our staff, our parents, our administrators, everybody, because it's really a total team effort, as well. When I say staff, it covers such a broad area, from our custodians, to our maintenance, to just everybody. It is a team effort. Everybody is the glue that kind of pulls everything together. Our secretaries, which I had a chance to meet today, our administrative assistants, they're phenomenal. Their knowledge, you really get a sense of a school and a district when you first walk in, and you see the smiles and you see that welcomeness, and that's outstanding. So I really do want to thank everybody for this, and really to the board. It's been a great process, and I can honestly say, sitting here, they've done their due diligence when it comes to me. And I've certainly have done my homework as well on Susquehanna School District. So I believe, and I can sit here and say, I think it's a good partnership. And if I'm the lucky candidate to move forward in this position, I look forward to having that time and to grow together.
I got one additional question in for you. Do you have any financial investment experience that would aid in lessening the burden of funding solely via tax dollars?
No.
Okay.
I will answer that completely. I do not, but here's what I do know, and it goes back to my question on leadership. It's about distributive leadership and hearing and asking questions, and working together and working collaboratively.
And let me end with one question and give you a chance for all the people. Why Susquehanna? Why do you want to come to Susquehanna?
Well, first of all, I think it fits directly with my own educational passions. Here, when I had the chance to meet with a lot of teachers, I heard teachers of 20 plus years, administrators of multiple plus years, board members of multiple plus years, a community that has so much pride in the district and talks about when they were graduating, the pride that they have and the pride they still have in the district as well. So when I look at Susquehanna as well, there's so much power in having one campus too. Having the buildings on one campus, the pristine grounds, the incredible offerings that you have curriculum-wise. I look at it and say to myself, it very much mirrors the district in which I work at. That was a huge attraction point to me as well. And I think it's a good fit. I think it's a good fit. As well as my family has some roots in the district as well. My parents are residents here. I come through the campus to get to my parents' house on a regular basis. So I understand and I see and I hear, and that's really it's really important. And I look forward to the possibility of having a long-standing relationship with the community and a long-standing relationship with the district, and kind of I look at Susquehanna as well, and it's much like Bermudian Springs. It is the hub of the community. Everything kind of pulls, when we think of Duncannon and we think of Marysville and Watts and everything in between, and Rye Township, it all kind of comes together at the district. The district is the hub and is the connector of all of the community. And the district in which I currently work at is that same way. So we're kind of very similar, in that as well. So that was a huge attraction for me to be here also.
Thank you very much. I know on behalf of the board, they want to thank you for spending the day here today. And I asked Mr. Lehman if he has any final comments or anything he'd like to say, and he says no at this point. So given that, thanks to everyone, for those of who have come in this evening, and to those who are online, we thank you very much, and we thank Dr. Fox for his time and answering the questions this evening.
Thank you again.
All right, this is Christine. I'm going to end the Zoom meeting now. Thank you.
Thanks, Christine.